Frederick Douglass, born on February 18 in Maryland, USA, died on 20th February 1895 in Washington, D.C., USA. Frederick Douglass said, "The white man's happiness cannot be purchased by a black man's misery." Frederick Douglass, born Frederick Augustus Washington Bailey, was an American social reformer, abolitionist, orator, writer, and statesman. After escaping from slavery in Maryland, he became a national leader of the abolitionist movement in Massachusetts and New York, gaining note for his oratory and incisive anti-slavery writings. Accordingly, he was described by abolitionists in his time as a living counter-example to slaveholders' arguments that slaves lacked the intellectual capacity to function as independent American citizens. Likewise, Northerners at the time found it hard to believe that such a great orator had once been a slave. Douglass wrote several autobiographies, notably describing his experiences as a slave in his narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, an American slave, 1845, which became a bestseller and was influential in promoting the cause of abolition, as was his second book, by My Bondage and My Freedom, 1855. Following the Civil War, Douglass remained an active campaigner against slavery and wrote his last autobiography, Life and Times of Frederick Douglass, first published in 1881 and revised in 1892. 3 years before his death, the book covers events both during and after the Civil War. Douglass also actively supported women's suffrage and held several public offices. Without his approval, Douglass became the first African American nominated for the Vice President of the United States as a running mate and Vice Presidential nominee of the Victoria Woodhull on the Equal Rights Party ticket. Douglass was a firm believer in the equality of all peoples, be they white, black, female, Native American, or Chinese immigrants. He was also a believer in dialogue and in making alliances across racial and ideological divides, as well as in the liberal values of the U.S. Constitution. When radical abolitionists under the motto "No Union with Slaveholders" criticized Douglass' willingness to engage in a dialogue with slave owners, he replied, "I would unite with anybody to do right and with nobody to do wrong." Frederick Douglass said, he escaped from slavery on this day, 4th September, and thought, 3rd September, and thought I would speak about Frederick Douglass today. Frederick Douglass said, "The white man's happiness cannot be purchased by a black man's misery." Yes, the white man's happiness cannot be purchased by making another man suffer. Throughout the time I've been talking about family, joint family, family tree, and the political mainstream and the greedy business people, the rich, drag the people using high-tech lights to attract the flies to the cities just because they wanted to become happy. The white man's happiness, the city rich man's happiness, the city political master's happiness cannot be purchased by a ordinary man's misery, by a village man's misery, by the nationalist man's misery, by a freedom man, a person who believes in freedom and loves misery. There was so much love being with a joint family, being with the parents, being with the children, and then working very, very hard, and then enjoying the benefits of what the land is given. And they allow, they give, they share. That has been destroyed. And instead, the village man's misery has increased. Frederick Douglass said, "White man's happiness cannot be purchased by a black man's misery. Torture the black man, slave the black man, beat the black man, do not give him facilities to come up in life, doesn't give him property, everything is suppressed. He doesn't have a family, he cannot have a proper family life, nothing. Same existed in India also. The upper caste kept on suppressing the lower caste, calling the SCST, or you call it by Dalits or whatever it is. But look at it. It was so painful without giving them land or property. And what happened? Everything broke into pieces. You cannot enjoy, but that enjoyment, what do you think? White man's happiness cannot be purchased with black man's misery. Another man's misery, your happiness, is only a mushroom. It doesn't have a permanent life. It is temporary. A permanent life is the family values. You should accept that family values. Dragging the people into the city, then at least create that kind of a family system into the city. Cities are broken into pieces. And then again the upper caste and the lower caste came, the rich and the poor. That divide has come. The people who are running big companies are now the white men, and the misery of the people who are working under them. What is this? Worse than a chicken farm. And people are working in those places without proper sanitation. You have to keep begging the electricity board, keep begging the water department for water, sewage clearings, and the garbage clearings. Fight breaks up, tensions, so much of sufferings in the city, so much of sufferings, and the pollution, and the blackmail of the people, departments. They force you. They said you put your stick into the mouth of the dog. What will the dog do? It will bite. So they keep on putting it, and then people, when they fight back, drag them to the police stations, file cases, make them go to the court. Throughout, their life is totally destroyed. People are living like a slave in the cities. If it continues, I'm thinking it might be another outrage, another revolution to break down the cities so that people can go back to their houses. And then we can formulate a new system. Let them be in their family. Let them build up their own pyramids, yes. Let them have their own villages. And from there, let us find out whether the country can be stabilized using that kind of money. Let every village will be a village, a panchayat. The panchayat will be having around 18 villages. Let 18 villages join together to create a pyramid. And that pyramid will be only having a garment factory if they want it. Yes, let it be that village with a lot of sunlight. They use only solar, wind energy, and rainwater. And their family, only their family. It can be a family tradition of that place. Again, we can go to another place where they produce some other thing. Like that, we can spread it instead of dragging it all. You are thinking if they are in different villages, how do we give them water facilities? How do we give them? But you are not giving anything. You made them a nobody. But back in the villages, they don't need your electricity board at all. Solar, encourage them to have the solar. Out of 365 days, 65 days, 300 days of sunlight, so much of solar. Out of 365 days, 65 days of rainfall, they have enough water, then wind. They are living happy. Not a single villages need a hospital. They all know what is hospital. That thy food be thy medicine they have. Fredrick Douglass said the white man's happiness cannot be purchased by black man's misery. Yes, the black man's misery is the misery of my poor, my people, the middle class. Everybody is suffering. Their love is not there. Misery cannot be on another person's big clubs and bars and whatnot in the city. What is this nonsense? This nonsense needs to be stopped at any cost. Big schools. Big schools which has got no connection with the family tradition at all. Big schools, international schools have got no connection with the love. Love is gone. Only hate and rubbish talk. Is this the money you are spending? There is nothing. The children, they come back home also, they do not get a chance to see the father's or mother's face, or brothers and sisters. When they become big leaders tomorrow, what will they do? They suppress. They see only hate. What do you get from an animal which is tied up? It looks like they have got the freedom, but they are tied to an international school. The chains are there. Yeah, children understand. They have to go for a revolution against this nonsense which is happening. Fredrick Douglass ran away and is telling, my legs were my freedom. I have to get my freedom. The great orator, yes. But then again back to the cities, I am not able to understand the diseases. Coronavirus has proved it is deceased. Fredrick Douglass said the white man's happiness cannot be purchased by a black man's misery. I wanted love. I wanted you to have love. Love can move mountains. Love can remove diseases. Through love, let us live. Through love, let us grow. Through love, let us die. This is my 168th short discourse.